सर आपण.
ठीक आहे. आज आपण प्रभाकर पंडितांच्या चौथ्या स्मृती व्याख्यानाकरता जमलेला आहोत. सुरुवातीला मी त्यांची मुलगी डॉक्टर आनंद उपाध्याय पंडित काकांची, की जे आपल्या संस्थेची पण निगडीत आहेत, तर त्यांना मी सुरुवातीला विनंती करतो की त्यांनी काही सुरुवातीला काकांच्या बद्दल बोलावं.
नमस्कार. पंडित काकांच्या वरच्या प्रेमानं त्यांच्या ह्या स्मृती व्याख्यानाला आवर्जून लॉग इन झालेल्या सगळ्या मित्र परिवाराला माझा नमस्कार. मी आणि माझा भाऊ अनिरुद्ध पंडित, आम्ही आपले आणि सर्वच पंडित परिवार आपले सगळ्यांचे ऋणी आहोत. आम्ही घरी पंडित काकांना दादा म्हणत असू. दादा कायम घरात कमी राहिले आणि बाहेर अधिक, पण घरातली प्रत्येक गोष्ट ही त्यांना अपडेट असायची. याला कारण म्हणजे आमची आई वसुंधरा पंडित. स्ट्रॉंगली शेअरिंग आणि स्ट्रॉंगली बॉन्डिंग हे माझ्या आई आणि बाबांमध्ये होतं. आणि त्याचमुळे माझे बाबा बाहेरच्या ऑफिसच्या सगळ्या पसारा आणि घरच्या जबाबदाऱ्या हे खूप लीलया पेलायचे. ते कर्मकांडात कधीच अडकले नाहीत आणि त्यामुळे प्रत्येक गोष्ट ही सायंटिफिक दृष्टीनेच बघितली पाहिजे असा त्यांचा कल असायचा. त्यामुळे ते प्रचंड कडक वाटायचे, पण खरं तर ते अत्यंत मृदू होते. त्यांच्या कोणत्याच भावना ते सहजी कधीच प्रगट करत नसत. सरकारी नोकरीत असल्यामुळे पुणे, धुळे, जळगाव, चंद्रपूर, मुंबई अशी असंख्य भटकंती त्यांची झाली. ते महाराष्ट्र गव्हर्नमेंटच्या सरकारी खात्यामध्ये होते. तो साधारण 80 ते 90चा जो काही काळ होता, त्यावेळेला सगळ्या सरकारी सिस्टीम्स डेव्हलप होत होत्या आणि त्यामुळे शेतकरी आणि गरीब यांना एक हमी भाव मिळाला पाहिजे अशी सगळी काही याची सिस्टीमची सुरुवात त्यावेळेला होत होती. मला अगदी नक्की आठवतं की खानदेशातले एकाधिकार कापूस खरेदी असेल, त्याच्यानंतर सातपुड्यातला डिंकाचा भाव असेल, त्याच्याशिवाय भूविकास बँक जेव्हा सुरू झाली तो काळ असेल, त्यावेळेला त्यांचा जो एक फर्नेस होता, त्यांनी घेतलेले जे न्यायबुद्धीने घेतलेले जे निर्णय होते ते मला नक्की आठवतात. कारण त्यावेळेला कसं असायचं की त्या सगळ्या ग्रामीण भागामध्ये त्यांची फिरती चालू असायची आणि ती त्यांनी खूप आनंदाने स्वतःहून अशी स्वीकारलेली होती आणि त्यामुळेच ते त्याला उत्तम न्याय देऊ शकले. काही दिवस ते आदिवासी विकास महामंडळावर काही वर्ष डेप्युटेशनवर होते. तेव्हाही त्यांचा कणखरपणा आणि प्रामाणिक योग्य निर्णय हे घेतले. त्यामुळेच त्यांच्या सेवानिवृत्तीनंतर सुद्धा त्यांना अनेक ठिकाणी ऍडमिनिस्ट्रेटर म्हणून बोलावणं आलं आणि त्या बोलावण्याचं त्यांनी नक्की चीज केलं. त्यांनी तिथेही अत्यंत चोख काम केलं. शास्त्रीय दृष्टिकोन जनमानसात रुजावा म्हणून अनेक सेवाभावी संस्थांमधून त्यांनी अतिशय अथक प्रयत्न केले आणि त्यांचं राहणीमान मात्र कायम खूप सिंपल होतं. आणि आज जर विचार केला तर आजच्या पेंडेमिक मध्ये त्यांचे सिंपल राहण्याचे संस्कार आहेत, त्यांची आम्हाला कायम वारंवार आठवण येते. आजचं हे त्यांचं चौथं स्मृती व्याख्यानाची लिंक जेव्हा मी फॉरवर्ड केली तेव्हा त्यांचे जे असंख्य स्टुडंट होते की ज्यांना त्यांनी मार्गदर्शन केलं होतं, खेड्यातून आलेला मुलगा हा कायम आमच्या घरी यायचा आणि ते त्यांना त्याच्या कुवतीप्रमाणे मार्गदर्शन करायचे. तर त्यावेळेला जे धडपडून आज सेटल झालेत त्यांच्यापैकी अनेकांनी मला फोन केले. त्यांनी मला सांगितलं 4 वर्ष झाली काकांना जाऊन, खरं नाही वाटत, पण त्यांचं जे मार्गदर्शन होतं ते आजही अनेक सिच्युएशन्स मध्ये फॉलो केल्यानंतर आम्हाला सक्सेस मिळतं हे त्यांनी आवर्जून सांगितलं. आणि त्यांची ही पाठीवरची थाप हीच खूप आज आमच्या सगळ्यांच्या करता ताजी आहे. पुन्हा एकदा आम्ही त्यांची मुलं अनिरुद्ध आणि अनुराधा आणि सर्व पंडित कुटुंबीय हे त्यांना श्रद्धांजली वाहतो. त्यांची स्मृती व्याख्यान रूपाने तेवत ठेवणाऱ्या माझ्या गुरूंची संस्था, वर्तक सरांची संस्था, महाराष्ट्र वृक्ष संवर्धिनीचे आम्ही खूप खूप आभारी आहोत. आणि त्याचबरोबर हेगडे सरांचे स्पेशल आभार की त्यांनी आज खूप छान माझ्या वडिलांची जी काही एक वृत्ती होती त्याला अनुषंगाने जे काही एक सस्टेनेबल डेव्हलपमेंट बद्दल ते बोलणार असं म्हणाले, त्याबद्दल त्यांचे आभार. आणि त्यांच्या आठवणींना हा उजाळा देण्याची मला संधी दिली याबद्दल आभार. परत एकदा माझ्या बाबांना भावपूर्ण श्रद्धांजली. थँक्यू व्हेरी मच. धन्यवाद.
धन्यवाद. धन्यवाद उपाध्याय मॅडम. तुम्ही आता जसं म्हणलात तसं महाराष्ट्र संवर्धनेच्या पुनरुज्जीवनामध्ये काकांचा फार मोठा वाटा होता. मला आठवतं
बरोबर आहे.
2001 साली माझ्या वडिलांच्या निधनानंतर संस्थेमध्ये खूप मरगळ आलेली होती. त्यावेळी मला आठवत आहे की प्रॅक्टिकली दर रविवारी काका पाऊस असो ऊन असो रिक्षातनं घरी यायचे आमच्याकडे, खालनं हाक मारायचे, आजी येतोच ना खाली, की मग वडिलांच्या फ्लॅटमध्ये सगळं तो पसारा मांडून काका बसायचे आणि मग शॉटिंग करायचं. नाही नाही, आपल्याला संस्था परत उभी करायची आहे. आणि काकाने अक्षरशः काकाने सानेबाई आणि महाजन सर आणि गोखले काका या तशी धरून संस्था परत उभी केली आणि आता गेली आपली 20 वर्ष खूप चांगलं काम चालू आहे. तर काकांचं आम्हाला खूप कायम आठवण येते. त्याबद्दल आम्हाला म्हणजे काय हे काकांच्या आम्हाला ऋणात कायम राहायला आवडेल. त्यानंतर मी आता डॉक्टर क्षीरसागरांना विनंती करतो, कारण क्षीरसागर सरांनी पंडित काकांच्या बरोबर बरंच काम केलेलं आहे. म्हणजे सृष्टीज्ञानमध्ये दोघं संपादकीय मंडळावर होते, विज्ञान भारतीच्या पण कामामध्ये दोघं बरोबर होते आणि अनेक संस्थांमध्ये दोघांनी काम केलंय. तर मी क्षीरसागर सरांना विनंती करतो की त्यांनी काही शब्द हे आठवण त्यांच्याबद्दल बोलावी.
नमस्कार. प्रभाकर पंडित आमचे ज्येष्ठ मित्र, त्यांचा हा 4था स्मृतिदिन आहे. तर सर्वप्रथम मी त्यांना अभिवादन करतो आणि सर्व पंडित कुटुंबीय यांनाही नमस्कार करतो. त्याचप्रमाणे आजचे प्रमुख वक्ते डॉक्टर नारायण हेगडे यांचंही मी स्वागत करतो, त्यांनाही मी नमस्कार करतो. पंडितांबद्दल बोलायचं म्हणजे तासभर सुद्धा पुरणार नाही, पण आपल्या छोट्या ठराविक वेळेत बोलायचं म्हणून मी फक्त काही आठवणींना स्पर्श करणार आहे आणि नंतर थांबतो. पंडितांचं बहुआयामी व्यक्तिमत्व होतं आणि त्याचे अनेक पैलू होते. त्याबद्दल मी त्याच्यावर काहीतरी थोडासा प्रकाश टाकण्याचा प्रयत्न करतो. पंडितांचा माझा अनेक क्षेत्रांमध्ये संबंध आला. त्यातल्या त्यात महाराष्ट्र वृक्ष संवर्धिनी आणि इतिहास संकलन समिती, विज्ञान भारती, नंतर जागृती मंडळ, अशा अनेक संस्थांमुळे त्यांच्याशी संबंध आला. अर्थात राष्ट्रीय स्वयंसेवक संघ हे त्यात मूळ आमचा त्यांचा बंध. महाराष्ट्र वृक्ष संवर्धिनीच्या संबंधात सांगायचं झालं तर आत्ता अजितनी सांगितल्याप्रमाणे त्यांनी याच्यात खूप लक्ष घालायला सुरुवात केली आणि माझं एक भाषण महाराष्ट्र वृक्ष संवर्धिनी त्यांनी ठरवलं होतं आणि ते वर्तकांच्या वाड्यामध्ये त्यांच्या त्या खोलीमध्येच झालं. तर ते माझं पहिलं भाषण आणि तो माझा महाराष्ट्र वृक्ष संवर्धिनीशी आलेला पहिला संबंध. तर ते त्यांनी खूपच ॲप्रिशिएट केलं आणि त्यांची एक वृत्ती अशी होती की स्तुती करायची, म्हणजे आता ती मला न पेलवणारी स्तुती सुद्धा त्यांनी त्यावेळी केली आणि सतत तशीच त्यांची वृत्ती होती. त्यानंतर दुसरं एक काम त्यांच्याबरोबर करता आलं थोडंफार, ते म्हणजे आपल्याला कदाचित संघाचे प्रचारक किंवा पूर्णवेळ कार्यकर्ते अनंतराव देवकुळे माहिती असतील. आपली शेती नावाचं एक मासिक ते धडपडून चालवत असत आणि त्याच्यासाठी त्यांनी खूप लेखन केलं होतं, पुस्तकं जमवली होती, साहित्य जमा केलं होतं आणि ते जोशीवाड्यात तिथे राहायचे, पेरुगेट भावे स्कूलच्या जवळ. तर ते गेल्यानंतर त्यांच्याकडल्या असलेल्या संग्रहाचं करायचं काय असं त्यांचा पुतण्या रवींद्र देवकुळे यांना प्रश्न पडला. मग त्यांनी मोरोपंत पिंगळे, भारतीय इतिहास संकलन समितीचे आणि संघाचे प्रचारक, तर त्यांच्याशी संपर्क केला आणि असं ठरवलं की ह्याच्या सगळ्याची साहित्याची जी व्यवस्था आहे ती आपण सर्वांनी मिळून करावी, कारण अतिशय मौल्यवान असं साहित्य अनंतरावांच्या संग्रही होतं. तर त्याची जबाबदारी, मोठी जबाबदारी पंडित काकांवर सोपवली होती. आणि मग मला आठवत आहे की तिथे ते रोज जायचं, त्यांचं सगळं ते बाडबिस्तारा काढायचा, त्याचं विश्लेषण करायचं, त्याचं सॉर्टिंग करायचं, निरनिराळ्या विषयांमध्ये त्याची करायची आणि विभागणी करायची आणि मग त्यात कोणाला काय हवंय अशा प्रकारचा विचार करून ते त्यांच्याकडे सोपवायचं आणि ते जे साहित्य आहे त्याचा सदुपयोग होईल हे त्यांनी पाहिलं. नंतर जो संबंध आणखीन एक आला तो भारतीय इतिहास संकलन समिती. ही भारताचा आधुनिक म्हणजे सत्य इतिहास पुढे आणणारी संस्था आहे. तर त्याचंही काम मोरोपंत पिंगळे करत असत आणि तिथे त्याची अधिवेशनं पुण्यात झाली, त्यानंतर अनेक चर्चासत्र झाली. तर ह्याच्यात त्यांचा अतिशय ऍक्टिव्ह असा रोल असायचा. मला आठवतंय स्वामी विवेकानंदांचे विचार, शैक्षणिक विचार या संबंधीचं मोठं चर्चासत्र झालं होतं आणि 2 दिवस निबंध वाचन चालू होतं आणि त्यातले जे निबंध होते त्याचं संपादन करून त्याचा एक मोठा अहवाल तयार करण्याचं काम प्रभाकर पंडितांवर सोपवलं होतं. ते त्यांनी यशस्वीपणे केलं. त्याचप्रमाणे त्या संकलन समितीतर्फे प्रदर्शनं व्हायची, अनेक उपक्रम, नंतर अधिवेशन, चर्चासत्र यातही त्यांचा सहभाग असायचा आणि त्यात ते पुढे असायचे नाही. त्यानंतर विज्ञान भारती यांनी पण अनेक आम्ही व्याख्यानं योजलेली होती, चर्चासत्र होती, प्रदर्शन होती, त्यामध्ये सुद्धा त्यांचा हिरिरीने सहभाग असायचा. जागृती व्यासपीठाचा मी मगाशी उल्लेख केला. श्रेयसमध्ये दर शनिवारी आम्ही सकाळी जमत असू आणि त्या ठिकाणी विविध विषयांवर तज्ज्ञांची पण भाषणं असायची, त्यांच्याबरोबर चर्चा असायच्या. आपापसातही विविध राष्ट्रीय प्रश्नांवर आमच्या चर्चा असायच्या आणि याचं वैशिष्ट्य असं असायचं की प्रभाकर पंडित हे सगळं टिपून घ्यायचे. प्रत्येक समारंभातच ते पुढे बसायचे आणि त्यांच्याकडे वही असायची आणि खाली मान घालून ते पहिल्यांदा सगळं जे असेल त्याचे मुद्दे सविस्तर असे लिहून काढायचे आणि मग त्याचा संक्षेपाने सारांश काय आहे ते लोकांच्या समोर मांडायचे. तसंच हे जागृती व्यासपीठात सुद्धा ते भाग घेत असत. सृष्टीज्ञानचा मगाशी उल्लेख झाला. सृष्टीज्ञाने गेली 93 वर्ष मराठीतून विज्ञान प्रसार करणारं एक मासिक आहे आणि त्याच्यामध्ये त्यांनी संपादक मंडळामध्ये त्यांनी सदस्यत्व स्वीकारलं आणि तिथेही त्यांनी भरपूर काम केलं. ते गेल्यानंतर त्यामध्ये त्यांचा सृष्टीज्ञानमध्येच त्यांच्यावर एक श्रद्धांजली लेख सुद्धा आम्ही प्रसिद्ध केलेला आहे. त्यानंतर त्यांचा जो स्वभाव होता तो स्वतंत्र विचार करणारा असा होता. विनोदी कोट्या आणि हसवणं हे तर त्यांचं सततच चालू असायचं. नंतर मगाशी मी म्हटल्याप्रमाणे टिपणं लिहिणं आणि ती सादर करणं हे एक वैशिष्ट्य होतं. त्यांचा लोकसंग्रह अफाट म्हणजे अफाटच होता. आणखीन एक सांगण्यासारखी आठवण आहे म्हणजे पंडित श्रीपाद दामोदर सातवळेकर हे पारडीला त्यांचा आश्रम होता आणि त्यांनी तिथून अनेक उपनिषद वगैरे प्राचीन वाङ्मयावर त्यांनी अनेक ग्रंथ प्रकाशित केले आणि तिथेच पुरुषार्थ नावाचं एक मासिक ते चालवत असत. तर त्यावेळेला ते 100 वर्षाचे झाले. ते इथे एक छोटीशी आठवण सांगण्यासारखी ती यांनाही लागू पडते पंडितांना, म्हणून मी ती आठवण सांगतोय. श्रीपाद हे पंडित सातवळेकर हे 100 वर्षाचे झाल्यावर पु ल जोशी यांना असं वाटलं की आपण त्यांना जाऊन आता भेटलं पाहिजे, म्हणून त्यांनी त्यांच्याशी संपर्क साधला, त्यांची भेट ठरवली. ते तिथे गेले, भीत गेले. आता सातवळेकर काय विचारतील मला, असलं काय लिहितोयस वगैरे वगैरे असं त्यांना वाटत होतं. पण आम्ही भेटायला गेलो, वाटलं होतं घरात आराम खुर्चीत ते बसलेले असतील, तर ते तिथे नव्हते. तर ते कुठे होते, तर तिथला जो त्यांचा प्रेस होता त्या ठिकाणी गेले होते वाढदिवसाच्या दिवशी, 100वा वाढदिवस. आणि मग ह्यांची भेट झाली. मग मुलांनी विचारलं काय चाललंय. काही नाही, मी एक नवीन उपक्रम घेतलेला आहे, उपनिषदांची विद्यार्थ्यांना माहिती करून द्यावी म्हणून हा उपक्रम आहे. किती वर्ष लागतील, साधारण काही नाही, फक्त 8-1 वर्ष लागतील. 100व्या वर्षी हा माणूस जिद्दीने सांगतोय की 8-1 वर्ष लागतील. तर ती आठवण मला पंडितांची झाली की ते सुद्धा अशा जिद्दीचे होते आणि त्यांनाही हे जे पुरुषार्थ मासिक आहे सातवळेकर गेल्यानंतर ते बंद पडता कामा नये त्याच्याकरता खूप धडपड केली. ते पुण्यात आणलं. रेव्हेन्यू कॉलनीमध्ये ॲडव्होकेट कुलकर्णी म्हणून होते, आणखीन काही सहकारी होते, त्यांच्या मदतीने त्यांनी ते पुन्हा चालू केलं. सगळ्यांकडे जायचे, लेख मिळवायचे, ते छापायचं, त्याचं संपादन करायचं आणि पुन्हा वितरण करायचं, ही सगळी जबाबदारी त्यांनी स्वीकारली होती. तर हे आयुष्याच्या शेवटच्या श्वासापर्यंत कार्यरत राहिले होते. यावेळेला मला एका कवितेची आठवण होते. फ्रॉस्टची कविता आहे आणि ती म्हणजे द वूड्स आर लवली डार्क अँड डीप बट आय हॅव प्रॉमिसेस टू कीप अँड माइल्स टू गो बिफोर आय स्लीप अँड माइल्स टू गो बिफोर आय स्लीप. माझ्या पत्नीने त्याचं मराठी केलेलं आहे. गर्द सभोवती वनराई ही मना घालिते भुरळ, परी मन सांगे सदा सर्वदा दिलीस वचने पाळ. चालायचे मैलो गणती उरे अल्प काळ, कार्य संपता अलगद यावी, विश्रांतीची वेळ, अशीच विश्रांतीची वेळ पंडितांवर आली आणि त्यांनी अलगदपणे मृत्यूच्या कुशीत आपलं आयुष्य पुढचं हे केलेलं आहे. तर मला ह्या वेळेला बोलवलं याबद्दल मी धन्यवाद मानतो आणि त्यांना पुन्हा एकदा अभिवादन करतो. धन्यवाद.
धन्यवाद क्षीरसागर सर. क्षीरसागर सर म्हणले तसं खरंच अगदी म्हणजे पंडित काका हे कुठलीही काही अडचण असू दे संस्थेला, कुठल्याही स्वरूपाची, म्हणजे कायदेशीर असो, आर्थिक असो, काही असो, त्यांच्याकडे प्रत्येक गोष्टीवरती सोल्युशन असायचं. आणि ते कधी नाउमेद व्हायचं नाही रे काहीतरी काढू आपण मार्ग, ते काढणारा मार्ग. आणि त्यामुळेच मला असं वाटतं पुण्यातल्या जवळजवळ एक 75 ते 80 संस्थांमध्ये काकांचं काम चालू असायचं एका वेळेला. म्हणजे ते काय रेकॉर्डच असेल मला असं वाटतंय. मी आता ह्याच्यानंतर आजचे जे प्रमुख वक्ते आहेत डॉक्टर नारायण हेगडे त्यांचा परिचय करून देतो. It is a great honor for me to introduce today's guest speaker, Dr. Narayan Hegde. Dr. Hegde has studied MSc Agriculture from G.B. Pant University, MS Horticulture from University of Hawaii, United States, Program in Management of Agriculture from IIM Ahmedabad, and PhD from University of Pune. He joined BIF Development Research Foundation in 1974 and served as the president and managing trustee from 1974 and served as the president and managing trustee from 1993 to 2009. He continued to serve BIF as trustee till June 2019. He served as the research guide for postgraduate and doctoral students in environmental science at the Savitribai Phule University, Pune from 1998 to 2018. He is presently serving as chairman, Children's Future India, trustee of MS Swaminathan Research Foundation and Agri Biotech Foundation, vice president of Kannada Sangh Pune, and managing trustee of the Nature Cure Ashram at Urali Kanchan, established by Mahatma Gandhi in 1946. Dr. Hegde has written illustrated books on environmental protection for children and technical manuals on wasteland development and agroforestry. His book, Gandhian Approach to Rural Prosperity, narrates his practical approach to agricultural development and sustainable livelihood. Another book, Positive Attitude for Good Health and Happiness, highlights the techniques for development of attitude, a prerequisite for developing leadership and leading a happy life. His book, Mother Nature, was awarded as Best Literature for Children in English by NCERT, New Government of India, New Delhi, in 1991. He was selected among 90 illustrious alumni over 90 years of University of Hawaii, USA in 1997. With this short introduction, now I request Dr. Narayan Hegde to deliver his talk.
Namaskar. It's a great honor for me and nostalgia to be with all of you and to remember Pandit Kaka as well as Dr. Vartak. I have met Pandit Kaka mostly in connection with Maharashtra Vriksha Samvardhini with Dr. Vartak. And never ever I thought he was a government servant. He was always humble volunteer, very modest, never talked more than what he wanted to speak, but he always talked sense. He was always there as a volunteer and a good listener. So a great honor for me. And also, fortunately, his daughter Anuradha Tai and son-in-law, they are all close friends to me. So what a coincidence that I have this honor to be with all of you to share some thoughts on sustainable development. Let me request the slide presentation, Mr. Pathak.
Yeah, I will do that now. Just
today's talk is on sustainable development. It's a very big term, but trying to see how we can bring close to our grassroots level. Because once again, Prabhakar Panditji, my salutes to you. Great work. Always, it's not necessary to be great people to do good work. You know, there are a lot of good things done by not known people, unknown people, but they are the real foundations. Generally, in the society, as you see in the house, you never see the foundation. You only see the temple's tip or the building's top roof, but the foundation stones, they are all inbuilt, but they are very strong. So these are some of the people, my tributes once again. Can we go to the next slide, please? You know, poverty has been a big challenge for the mankind. And India is known to be in chronic poverty for decades and the centuries. It was the global phenomena, poverty. And the United Nations in 2000 decided that during the new millennia, we should eradicate or bring down the poverty. So in 2000, in the year, Millennium Development Goals agenda was set up by United Nations with 8 important topics. As you can see, eradication of poverty, primary education, gender equity, child mortality reduction, maternal health, combat AIDS and malaria, ensure environmental sustainability, and global development partnership development. However, they were hoping to reduce all these parameters by 50%, but by the year 2015, that could not happen. They were disappointed, but they did not want to give up. So in the year 2015, next slide, the United Nations set up the Sustainable Development Goals for the next 30 years. And this time they had 17 points to be tackled. And as you can see, they included poverty, hunger, health, education, gender, clean environment and sanitation, energy, jobs, industrial infrastructure, reduce inequality, sustainable and convenient houses, responsible consumption, so controlled without any storage, cumulative action, global action for fighting poverty, life sea ocean development, life above the land and forests, and partnership. Also peace and justice. These are 17 goals, part of these Sustainable Development Goals. Next one, please. Out of them, the 10 of them are very important, which we can handle at the micro level. They can be poverty reduction, as I don't want to go to the statistics because we all know what it means. Eradication of hunger. The surprising thing is 80% of the people are dependent on agriculture, but still they are poor. You can imagine if a producer himself is poor, what would happen to him and for the country. Ensure health, ensure inclusive and equitable quality education, achieve gender. These are the same goals which are brought forward from the Millennium Development Goals. Next one. Can we have the next one? And sustainable management of water and sanitation, toilet for all, at least 2.6 billion. Affordable modern energy for all, sustainable renewable energy. Housing, employment, and reduce inequality between the rich and the poor, rich country and the poor country. So many of them are the same goals, which are known to us, but the United Nations has refocused on these 17 goals. Next one, please. Coming to India, during the last 10, 15, 20 years, we have done very significant work, at least on the paper. As you can see, in the year 2005 and 6, the people who were poor were 640 million. And in the next 10 years, it had been reduced almost by 50% to 369 million. Today, in the recent year, next slide, please. Today, it is estimated that we have about 270 million poor, 27 crores. Poverty means at least $2 per day is the line of poverty. I would consider if a family can earn at least 5,000 rupees a month, probably that's when they don't have to go starving. When you look to the poverty in India, you see on the left side, you can see the poverty is skewly distributed to some states like Uttar Pradesh, who have the highest number of poor in Uttar Pradesh, followed by Bihar, Madhya Pradesh, Odisha, Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh, and Rajasthan. It's all known. The bad part of these states is that they are not drought-prone states. They are not bad states. In fact, most of these states, excepting Rajasthan, they have plenty of water. In fact, water is a curse. They suffer more often than surplus water than less water. They have fertile land. They have a lot of labor available. They have livestock. But in spite of that, we have a large percentage of people poor. That's 25% of the villagers are poor. And if you look to the right side, it is the scheduled tribe people who are the most poor. Almost 40 plus percent of the scheduled tribe are poor. Scheduled castes are further poor, OBC and others. And you can also see that the urban people are much better off. There is only 14% poverty. And in the villages, it is 25%. If you go remote from the taluka places or district places, the poverty increases. Now, this slide will focus as to where we should be working, how we should be working. Next slide, please. So, as I said, the reasons for economic inequality and poverty could be uneven distribution of resources. Like if there is a drought area, you can't do. If there is a hilly, cold areas, you can't do. Social status is very important. Literacy is very important. Health condition is bad. And information, communication, infrastructure. And the last one is access to power. It's one of the, I don't know, it's a virtue or curse. That's also very important. That's the reason why poor chase the powerful people. Next one, please. Now coming to the Indian economy as such, many times we feel that we are far, far below the developed countries, either in Europe or North America. The problem, if you can analyze why our Indian economy has inbuilt, negativities, because it has a very low national per capita income. Whatever you produce, we are the first or the second producers in many things, but when it comes to per capita average, it washes away because we have second largest human population. We may even cross China. Many times we compare India with China, but we must remember one thing. China has 3 times more area than what we have in India. And that itself will say per capita land holding in China is very high. In India, land is a very important thing for the farmers because their dependency is dependent on the land. India also has a poor collection of revenue by way of taxes. So as a result, the country is poor. They don't have rich resources. They don't have something to generate income from oil or gas or industries. It's mostly through collection of taxes and almost the petroleum fuel we consume, half of it is imported. So we take away all the rich resources for burning fuel. Infrastructure is very deprived, outdated. And many times you see even the new infrastructure is not up to the mark. I can say sometimes our Pune, flyover. 10 years ago, we built a flyover in front of the university. After 10, 15 years, we have demolished because our planning was completely bad. It was not useful. If we had had long-term planning, probably whatever the infrastructure we have created did not have to be demolished. So sometimes why we are underdeveloped infrastructure, it should be attributed to the policy, vested interest, and so on and so forth. So low level of technology, even today, we are sometimes very allergic to technology. Many times I feel hurt even at the government level. People talk of zero farming, Panchamrut for growing agriculture. So second thing is in the name of technology, we also try to, take false information and cheat the farmers, which is a very, very sad part. So it's a very important that, if we believe in science and technology, there is no reason why we don't want to get rid of the access to have better technology. In all the terms we compare with the developed countries, when it comes to technology, why we should think that the developed countries have poor technologies. There is also difficulty in starting the business. Labor laws are very rigid. Even the small farmer, if he has to have some labor, there are so much of rigid labor laws. They are so impractical that finally they consider having no engaging no labor will be better than having labor and having trouble. The population pressure has to be addressed. Unfortunately, we have stopped talking about the family planning and population pressure because it is taken for granted. And unless we address this as a very important issue, all the developments we contribute is washed away because of per capita sharing. Poor educational standards are still, you are aware, we are debating as to what should be the right thing. And as a result, we have massive unemployment. And you also felt as to how this Corona timing, unemployment in northern states created havoc for the migratory workers. So that gives a kind of, it's a tip of the iceberg. Till then, we were not even aware the employment status. Sometimes one thing is unemployment, second one is employing without decent means and terms of condition. So agriculture is not adequate. The income on the focus on agriculture is not adequate. So as a result, we have a lot of inequalities between the income and the wealth. Rich becomes richer, poor becomes poorer. There is somewhere exploitation going on at every level. If we are talking about the development without addressing the exploitation, we will not be able to make big headway. Next, please. So what should we do for this country to be a developed nation, to address all the sustainable development goals and come out of all the negative points? First thing, the experts suggest that we need to have development skills and which can generate a lot of jobs. Create semi-skilled jobs for those who are currently unemployed. Don't aim for big things, aim for step-by-step development. If he's unemployed, start with skilled, semi-skilled, and if he's semi-skilled, take him to higher skilled so that there is stability in employment and contribution to technology. Women should be an important part of the labor participation. Many studies in the past have said that women are never unemployed. They are always employed. However, their employment involved so much of drudgery, so much of neglect, so much of repetition. As a result, whatever the work they did was not visible. If you want really women to be part of the real development, we must understand what are the handicaps for these women to contribute or make the contribution more visible. A lot of studies in the last 3-4 decades have shown that given the same opportunity, women can do much better than the men. in any areas of development. The job should be spread across all the places. Like in northern states, there is neither there is job nor there is agricultural production. That's why they are poor. Why we need to really concentrate all the jobs around big cities, make the area polluted, uproot the rural people to come and live in slums. So the policy should be really uh, to create jobs in places where employment has been very low. It's also important to have macroeconomic stability and then bring the microeconomic. Because or even if you create micro enterprises and jobs, it's not enough. You know, the macroeconomic stability means you have to control inflation. You need to make sure that the competitive credits are available to the people. We address the global, environment and make sure that we become globally competitive. Because today, you see, even agarbattis come from China. What does it mean? It's a very shame, agarbatti comes from China. That means our agarbatti manufacturers are not sensitive to the global scenario. This is where we really need to understand how we become competitive, not only enough to your microclimate, but at the global level. Having said that, you need to create more space for investment so that people are prepared to invest money, provided they are assured of the return. In agriculture, we need so much of money. In many other sectors, but people who have money, they are very, very shy because they are not very sure of investing. So it has to be comfortable for the investor to put in certain industries where we require more resources. And we also, as I already said, de-risk the external factor. Our business should not be, dominated by external conditions, because our small entrepreneurs will not be able to handle that kind of stress. And we need to really fix the more vulnerable sectors. And our experts say agriculture and rural economy, infrastructure, power, exports and finance, these are the most stressed sectors which need to be given priority. Growth should be inclusive of all the basic quality of life. That means it's not enough to only invest in petroleums and aeronautics, but also take care of the education, take care of the skill development, make sure how the school children get into new curricula to address, to take care of the future opportunities, healthcare, women empowerment, environment, and social protection. These are some of the important considerations at the national level. As NGOs, we can only create lobby and try to draw their attention, but we have very limited things to do directly. Next one, please. The government during the last 3-4 years have set an agenda for doubling the farm income, which is extremely good. I believe it's possible to do, provided we have right policy. Improvement in the crop, it should be done through improvement in crop productivity. When again, the government declared that zero farming, budget farming, or desi cow are the only sources of future for farmer, I was very disappointed, because if you are wanting to really seriously do doubling of income, we must be going with the scientific facts, and we should be really, we should not be biased, because our scientists like Dr. Nerkar and so many, who have put in their life, and we know the agriculture, education and science has done great contribution. Moment we say that without putting anything, even today I see a lot of people saying Panchamrit has taken away all their insects. I have a small plot in my garden here. I can't get rid of the insects on leafy vegetables. How can a farmer, spray Panchamrit and get rid of the insects? If at all, I have nothing prejudiced. If at all, somebody has experience, they should validate properly and tell how they can replicate continuously. Because when science means it should be repeated, it should give the same, result. So improvement in livestock. Last 10, 5, 6 years, there was a big commotion about A1 milk and A2 milk. Farmers were very panicky. Our consumers, I felt very hurt when I see the board say to A1 milk available for 100 rupees. What is A1, A2? People don't know. They are only scared. They have money. So instead of buying milk at 46, 47 rupees, people were wanting to give 100 rupees or 90 rupees. It's only the traders made money, neither the farmer nor the consumers. We made a study when I was in Bai for 50 years. We had a crossbreeding program. There are people who have been drinking only exotic milk of Jersey or Holstein Friesian for last 30, 40 years, not even one hair fallen out of it due to that. Don't bring the bald people and say that he drank the Jersey milk. So the point is, without any scientific base, even the government level can declare. Who is at loss? Nobody, so we had to really take up a stand. Fortunately, the government stopped doing wrong propaganda. It will take some time. Ultimately, if you cannot help the farmer with the right technology, don't misguide him. So the third point is resource use efficiency is very important. Even today, farmer thinks more water means more crop. Moment you give free electricity, he pumps out all the water table goes down, his crop is infested with pests and diseases, he loses money. Even today, you can see people don't understand. They think the government is responsible for our wellness. Moment the corona lockdown gone, everybody wants to move out. We have to be very careful, that government is not responsible for anything. We are responsible for our own life and for our own economy. We need to also increase the cropping intensity, because the average cropping intensity is only 1.3 or 1.4. You can easily go to 1.8 or 2. That means more than one crop. And instead of only talking about the traditional crop, we must also look for diversification. We have good examples in Andhra Pradesh, near Hyderabad, where farmers were growing jawar, bajra. Today, they have vegetable crops with the same water available. And they are able to earn about 1 to 2 lakhs of rupees per acre in 1 year, It's a very good example. They did not change the vegetable. They only changed the varieties. They only changed the system of cultivation. And they were able to pack well and get into the market in good shape. And their income from 20, 30,000 rupees to 1.5 to 2 lakhs of rupees. I can see why double it can be 4 times, provided we have right people to guide them and right technologies. Then the price realization is very important. You can't cheat the farmer. Marketing and the production, they are kind of, two sides of the same coin. But when there is low production, there is no marketing. Where there is marketing, there is no production organized. So in spite of many efforts made by the government, farmers are not able to get best price. The only answer I can see is farmers have to organize themselves to get the better price for themselves. We also need to understand that all the children born on the farm cannot get the job in the next generation. Sooner or later, we must bring non-farm occupations either in the village or in the small towns. Preferably, if you can bring it in the village. When we talk of China, I have seen 30 years ago, having agriculture, industry in every village. Gram Panchayat has an industrial estate, and they support industries, small-scale industries in every village. So this is one thing, some of the good things we need to learn from countries like China. We can create jobs, off-farm jobs, even in the villages. We should adopt them as early as possible. Next one, please. There is a great opportunity for development and for increasing the income. 5 important pillars for development income are increasing productivity as a route to higher production. Per, per acre productivity must grow. So that's very important. We must reduce the cost of cultivation, which is possible. We must make sure that crop mix should be properly maintained so that you have food, non-food crops combined. It's not necessary that every village must produce everything. You can produce whatever is conveniently and buy the rest from the neighboring villages or neighboring blocks. Sustainable production technologies are very important. What we have learned from the Green Revolution is all the technologies are not sustainable. We must apply it. Technology is nothing wrong with the technology. I once again re-emphasize, but should be judiciously used to ensure that the sustainability is maintained. And there is necessary to negotiate risk at all the levels of value chain, because from the farm to the customer, there are a lot of areas where farmers are encountered by various risks. Any risk anywhere, ultimate sufferer is the farmer. So it's important to understand these 5 issues which affect our production and growth. Next one, please. Again, coming back to the doubling the income, quickly I am going to go through. More emphasis should be on post-operation processing, value chain for different crops. When we were in agricultural college, we only talked about food production. We need to really talk from backward, forward integration, then only the farmers will make money. The marketing system should be farmer-centric in the sense, depending on the local situation, the marketing arrangements should be modified and supported accordingly. Developing hub and spoke system is a very important thing. Backward and forward linkages. On one hand, we have a lot of unemployed youth. On the other hand, we don't get the technology reaching the farmer. In between, a lot of agents exploiting the farmers. The hub and spoke system is at village or a 5-10 village cluster level. We should have an appointed agriculture manager who can coordinate on behalf of all the farmers, all these services, like, you want irrigation, you want electrical fitting, you need drip irrigation supply, you need pesticide, you need seeds. All the farmers can come together and, give it to the manager. He can coordinate with all the suppliers, negotiate the best deal and bring it, deliver it to the farmers. So that, when you negotiate in bulk, at least 15 to 20% of the input cost can be reduced. Similarly, if all the farmers come together, collect their produce, grade at the village level, then accordingly shift it to different markets depending on the quality and demand, farmer can easily get about 20 to 30% higher value. If you can link 20%, if you can add 20% of the savings in the input and 20% in the price, farm gate price, farmer gets 40% more income than what he has been earning. So what else you require? Today, he's not even getting 5%, 10%. Without doing any new thing, we will be able to, through hub and spokes method, he should be able to do. And I think this is a very important. It can also generate a lot of employment for the youth, and there is opportunity for off-farm, business at the village level. Marketing intelligence is very important. Demand, supply. Farmer should be told when we should stop cultivating, sowing onion now, which crop we should be tomato. Otherwise, it's an old story. We have onion story. Someday the export is stopped. Someday there is no market. As in all the calamities, the farmer is a loser. It's only because he does not have the market intelligence, information, when to stop, when to grow, what is the shortage. So this market intelligence through IT centers is very important. Climate resilience and sustainable promoting. With the changing climate, our scientists must be advising farmers from time to time. There are a lot of good efforts made to introduce new varieties which are tolerant to stressful weather, short duration. They should be coming to the field as early as possible from the research stations. This can be done, this is not done by the scientists, should be done by the agencies like ours or the volunteers or the extension agencies. Efficient reuse of water, fertilizers. A lot of water is wasted. We can easily recycle. The seed should be produced better quality. Resource use must be very efficiently done. We have great opportunity for farm mechanization so that you can carry out the operation well in time. You can even save the labor. And also introduction of very high value crops. There are a lot of people making good money. These technologies and information should reach the farmers, particularly in the backward areas and in the backward states. Risk management has been already spoken. This is, there should be some sell. If some farmers lose money, suddenly they will not be able to come up on their own for the next 5 years. At least some insurance, some risk fund should be given so that, suddenly if they have lost something, they should be given to revive their own business. And finally, the empowerment through agriculture extension and skill development, they're extremely important. Our training system should change to need-based. You don't require classroom training for a long time. You really require connectivity with the expert from time to time, so that whenever the farmer has problem, we should be able to consult the expert, show the problematic plant through the web camera and get the answer online. So that should be possible. The technology is available. When we can use the web camera, webinar, we should have similar system for the farmer as early as possible. Next one, please. The investments are huge. We need to be prioritizing in the development of new crops and varieties through research. Land development has very good potential. Irrigation should be given priority. Once we can declare zero flood irrigation, that's the day you can see the agriculture will be prosperous. Farm mechanizations, light, heavy, more for easing the drudgery, reducing the drudgery, saving the time, and post-harvest facilities and markets. These are a lot of investments, and the investment for the agriculture are road, power, transport, storage houses, internets, and telephone connectivity. Next one. Our next priority, particularly for the rural development agencies, NGOs who are working for the last 4 or 5 decades in the villages, what should be the future priority? I consider these are the 5 important priorities we should attempt. Gone are the days when we were doing everything and everywhere there was demand, there was money, but in the future, we'll not be able to get this. There is no way we can keep on distributing inputs to the farmers. We need to address climate change issues regarding the weather advisories, crop advisories, water conservation advisories. We need to work on control of pollution of our soil, air, food, also the rivers, unless we talk of pollution. Moment you stop pollution of the river and water, all our rivers will be available for drinking water. People don't have to drink water, buy bottled water. Value chain development be part of the agricultural development program. Energy we need to address. Of late, we can see solar energy for pumping water is becoming very important, initiative. And finally, the skill development, skills for everybody we must know. Every day we should be prepared to get to know the new skill and take it, because ultimately many of these technologies are virtual oriented, computer oriented. We must know how to implement them. Today, most of you know that we don't have to go to the pump house to switch on the pump. You can link your switching on and off of your water pumping system to your mobile based on the requirement in the field. Such it's not even mechanical. When the moisture in the soil goes down, automatically the pump can switch on. That's the system. These are available already. For 10 years, farmers are using elsewhere. Why our farmers should not be brought in? This thing. This should be real investment, real development. It will take a long time for the government to do. Probably we should be in the forefront to take up such a development. Next one, please. To come to our NGO scenario at the grassroots level, I think our focus should be generation of employment. How can we create employment? We should really have employment not by wages, but by long-term employment, sustainable, reliable. It may not be permanent employment, but it should be reliable. If a person comes to the job on a farmer's field, he should be knowing that, okay, next 2 months I have job here. So employment, because on one hand, there is shortage of skilled employment. On the other hand, we have a lot of unemployment. So somewhere we need to generate employment through skill development. We must ensure that people are free from hunger. It's shame on us to talk philosophy when somebody in our village, in our community are living hungry. Children, 30–40% of the children are still malnourished. That's not the case, but there are women who have to go without meal. We must address this. Community health, if you can address it can address both the above factors, like they can earn better, they can live better, they can grow better, do better jobs. Education has been given a lot of emphasis, but we need to go for quality education. Particularly every child, particularly the girl in the village, passes up to SSLC. And if we can improve the curriculum to learn some life science education during this time, they should be able to engage somewhere after the high school to do some skilled job. Gender empowerment is a very important thing. We have spoken on many occasions, but still there is a long way to go. I will take the next slide to tell that. Clean water and sanitation is important, renewable energy. All the animals and plants, protection should be there. People should work with passion and compassion is very important. You can't, in the name of development, you can't keep on disturbing animals and plants. And finally, we must also take up a mission, that selfless service. When we talk of going and helping the people, we must make sure that there is no vested interest attached to this. Then our service will be very effective. Next one, please. In case of women empowerment, there are very few slides left. Have patience, please. In the case of women empowerment, this is a very old slide. I revived it. Women are neglected because they are engaged. They are affected by their health. They are having a lot of children. They don't get safe drinking water, so they have to fetch water from long distances. They have to get fuel. They don't have kerosene many times, so biogas sometimes doesn't work. When the children are at home, they are malnourished. Instead of keeping home, if we can send them to kindergarten, balwadis, and schools, women get some time. The midday meal also helps them to get some nourishment, and women can save a lot of their drudgery and time. Then they are willing to work. I have met thousands of women during my last 40–50 years. No woman has said that they don't want to work. Every woman wants to work more. However, they need to be relieved of certain trivial things which takes away a lot of time. Even to the extent if the men take away their plates from the dining table to the kitchen, that saves so much of time. We can start doing it as part of the women empowerment in our houses from today. Then once women are ready, then sensitization of the men and the elderly members in the family is very important. Even today, many people think women empowerment means degrading of the men or dividing of the family, which is not true. When we talk of women empowerment, we must always say that this is integral part of the family development, family empowerment. Equal share in the family assets is a dream of the developed world, but it takes time. We have seen when the women start contributing to the economy of the village, in the family, the men naturally start consulting the women when they want to spend money earned by the women and men jointly. So it is when she shows the power of, contribution to the economy, automatically she regains her status. And you need to, you know, many times we believe that women have no ability to negotiate and take effective decisions, which is not correct. Women have all the capacity. It's only a matter of experience and exposure. So we need to really give that opportunity. Then that is, then the women will say, yes, now I am free to take anything which I want to do. When the women are ready, they feel that they have all the freedom and support from the family, then we should be orienting them to the jobs of their liking. Women have a lot of agenda. They can do many things on their own. Give preference to their own business, their own enterprises. If somebody is wanting to have cow, don't force them to have buffaloes or don't force them to have pigs. Let them have what they want to do. Then, give them money, microcredit. The self-help group is a very important tool. They can give a lot of support, the moral, emotional support, and they can also interact with the vested interests in the society. I have seen many, many women empowerment groups fighting against corruption, going to the government, changing the agenda of the Gram Panchayats. It's all possible, I've seen. And we need to replicate, even if you can do only replication of the success stories during the last 20 years, I think we don't really need any new technology. We have a lot of success stories. The chances of failure when you replicate success stories is zero. So, and women should also be involved in community development. Not only, many times I have seen Bachat Gat means only money taken, given, money taken, given. That's not enough. They should be exposed beyond money. After some time, you realize that money is a very small part of the whole development. There are bigger issues in this society. The women should be involved in addressing. When women come into the negotiation table, there are a lot of discipline and, decency in the whole business. Next one, please. School is a very important vehicle. When the children are given opportunities, various activities, they also take the message to the parents. They are more effective than any extension worker in communicating with the parents, take good technologies. So wherever we are working, and also it's important that the children are properly taught. If we can concentrate on little bit of school and management to ensure that our children are taught properly, I think that's a great thing. I have seen in many of the villages, wherever the primary school children are taught well, they are the ones to go for higher education. They are the ones to take the poverty out of their family. So school is very important. Make sure that the boys are not taken to wrong direction. The girls are properly nurtured and supported so that there is harmony and learning in the school. Next one, please. So finally, last 2 slides left. When we talk of the development, we cannot ignore what Mahatma Gandhi did to this country. It was probably Mahatma Gandhi who brought village development as a voluntary in the voluntary sector when he came. Even before the independence of India, Gandhiji introduced a lot of development programs. And with his experience, he developed a concept of Sarvodaya. What he says in Sarvodaya is the focus should be on the upliftment of the entire community, particularly the weaker sections. And Gandhiji further said that if you are involved in social service, you should have certain qualities in you You can't be a mafia and, come to the village and, start development. Your virtue is very important. So Gandhiji said that every person who wants to do selfless service must be true to himself or herself, must embrace truth, non-violence, chastity. Brahmacharya, many times people confuse that it is remaining celebrity. Gandhiji says it is the full control on your sense organs. Our Gita says, the Sita Prajna is not the one who starves. Sita Prajna is the one who enjoys everything, but to the extent required. And forget, once you enjoy, you don't have to linger. After 4 days, you don't have to say, how was the food in that restaurant? That's lingering. So you have to, brahmacharya means you have control on these organs so that, you take whatever is needed, don't crave beyond. Don't be fearful, be bold to say what you want to. Justice is, you should fight for the justice. Don't steal don't steal the credit of somebody else. Stealing the, work of others is also stealing, taking the credit for not doing, it's also stealing. Don't accumulate things which more than what you require. Don't get into drinking and alcohol, and also possible avoid meat. And control on all your activities, self-sacrifices, renounce all your selfishness activities. Bread labor is a very important concept. Gandhiji, studied and professed. That's the basis of real basis of Sarvodaya. There was a book in that with that title. There they say that every person who works has a value, has a role, has dignity. So dignity for work. Swadeshi is very important. As I said, we really don't need agarbatti to come from China. We should have it. Then respect for all the religions, because all the religions teach the same thing. And, you must get rid of this untouchability to make sure that everybody is equal. And finally, next one, please. How we can, apart from doing all our NGOs, how we can day-to-day practice is Gandhiji's message, is my last slide to say. When the parents maintain dignity at home, children behave well. If your children are fighting on the street, fighting with others, think over, you are also party to it as parents, because they learn from us. If all the government schools teach well, the children need not go to private school or have tuition. The teacher gets the same salary, he has to go and spend the same time. If he thinks that I have to do my duty, that is the spirit of sustainable development. When we recruit people on merit, the organizations will excel. If all your people whom you take are on the recommendation, the organization is bound to go down, because you take up incompetent people. When the public hospitals treat the patients well, why the poor should be exploited? We don't have to go to private hospitals. If the traders are fair, then poor is decent living. When workers are paid fair wages, if there is spurious input, then agriculture will not fail. If the rich reduce the consumption, then there will be no scarcity of food or any other commodity in the market. If people reduce the use of car, then there is no pollution or congestion on the road. And when the industries control their own pollution, there is no global warming can be reversed. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have the sustainable development is very important. India is most vulnerable. So everybody, whatever we can do, we must do. But the last slide is also very important. Last two slides as the message essence. We must do, but we must also mind our own business. So with a concern, to begin with a concern, understand the priority, make best use of the resources and skills, serve with sincerity to promote sustainable development. Thank you very much. Once again, my tributes to Shri Pandit and all of you for remembering him. Thank you very much.
अजित sir आहेत का?
If there is any question, I will be happy. Otherwise, thank you once again.
Sure. कोणाला काही प्रश्न असेल तर प्लीज विचारू शकता. अजित सर कुठे गेले?
मला असं वाटतं की सर प्रश्न दिसत नाहीत मला वाटतं, कारण सरांनी अतिशय
सोप्या भाषेत होतं
आणि
सेल्फ एक्सप्लेनेटरी होतं.
आणि मला असं वाटतं करोनामुळे सर म्हणलं तसं हा सगळ्यांना विषय पटलेला आहे आता की पर्यावरण आणि विकास हे करायचं म्हणजे खूप अवघड हे आहे, अगदी पटलेले आहेत सगळ्यांना. सर तुम्ही अत्यंत अवघड असा विषय तुमच्या इतक्या वर्षाच्या अनुभवामुळे मला वाटतं की हा विषय आपण अत्यंत सोप्या भाषेत मांडलात, त्याबद्दल संस्थेमार्फत आणि त्याचबरोबर पंडित कुटुंबियांतर्फे पण मी आपला आभार मानतो. आणि असंच आमच्या संस्थेवरती आणि सगळ्यांवरती लोभ ठेवा.
थँक्यू.
लगेच निमंत्रण स्वीकारून
मी आशा बाळगतो की आपल्याला काहीतरी ह्याचा उपयोग आपल्या जीवनामध्ये घेऊ शकू. तेव्हा
नक्की सर. यानंतर मी पुढचा कार्यक्रमाची अनाउन्समेंट करतो. येत्या शनिवारी आपण एक वेगळ्या विषयावरती डॉक्टर श्रीरंग यादव, कोल्हापूर विद्यापीठातील माजी विभाग प्रमुख वनस्पतीशास्त्राचे, त्यांनी विषय पण अतिशय वेगळा घेतलेला आहे की खूप कमी काम ह्याच्यावरती झालेलं आहे की उत्तर पश्चिम घाटात आढळणाऱ्या कंदमुळे, त्याच्यातील विविधता आणि त्यांचं महत्व, या विषयावरती ज्येष्ठ वनस्पती अभ्यासक डॉक्टर श्रीरंग यादव कोल्हापूर यांचं व्याख्यान होईल संध्याकाळी 6:30 वाजता झूम वरती. आपल्याला त्याची लिंक आणि सगळी माहिती पाठवली जाईल. आणि उपाध्यक्ष तुम्ही बोलताय काय?
नाही येस
2 मिनिटं बोला ना, काय हरकत नाही.
नाही थँक्यू
नाही म्हणजे पंडित कुटुंबियांतर्फे फक्त आभार. 2 मिनिटं. ठीक
आहे. येस
चॅट मध्ये कोणीतरी प्रश्न विचारलाय, व्हॉट वी नीड टू दॅट गव्हर्नमेंट लिसन्स टू एक्सपर्ट्स लाईक यू. महत्वाचा प्रश्न आहे. हेगडे सर.
सर अरे
क्वेश्चन प्रश्न काय? What we need to do so government listens to experts like you. Okay. The best thing is, bring them to the place where you have spoken something, समजा मी आता सांगितलंय आंध्र प्रदेशमध्ये आमचे शेतकरी 2 लाख रुपये कमवलं. पहिल्या गोष्टी म्हणजे डोंट कीप ऑन टेलिंग द गव्हर्नमेंट दॅट यू आर नॉट डन एनिथिंग, आय हॅव डन इट. तुम्ही सांगितलं की शेतकऱ्यांनी अमुक केलं, चला आपण बघून येऊ. म्हणलं की एकदा तुम्ही शेतकऱ्यांना घेऊन गेला, ते गव्हर्नमेंट ऑफिसर बघितले, ते म्हणलं अरे हे तुम्ही हे केलं तर मी का करू शकणार नाही का, हे एक भावना त्यांच्याकडे आला पाहिजे. सो take them with confidence, show them what can be workable, because many times government is also very skeptical about the statements we make from the NGO sector. They think we are exaggerating. Sometimes it is extreme. So my feeling is seeing is believing, that's the way you need to take somebody, your political representative, maybe तुमच्या MLA ला घेऊन दाखवा, तुमच्या MP ला दाखवा, so that they are also non-political, they are also interested in development. त्यामुळे अगोदर identify these success stories, then take it into a kind of narrative and share it with the people concerned. So it should work.
डॉक्टर साहेब, मला असं वाटतं की तुमचं जे वाढीचं प्रोजेक्ट आहे वाजद्याचं, तर ते आता म्हणजे आय वॉज रदर फिलिंग लाईक इन द ड्रीम की शेतकरी असं काही करू शकतो. तर मला वाटतं दॅट इज द बेस्ट एक्झाम्पल ऑफ सपोर्ट अँड डेव्हलपमेंट इन ऍग्रिकल्चर. तर त्या बाबतीत काही करता येईल का? कारण मला वाटतं जाऊन तिथं सुद्धा 15-1 वर्ष झाली असतील, परंतु तरी सुद्धा मला अजून तिथला काय चप्पा आठवतोय की मला करवंद्यांनी हे दाखवलं ते दाखवलं. अँड आय वॉज व्हेरी दॅट विल ऑल्सो हेल्प फॉर दिस सस्टेनेबल डेव्हलपमेंट असं मला वाटतं.
नाही शिरीषजी, तुम्ही फार चांगले सांगितले. आता वाडीमध्ये तरी वी हॅड मेड लॉट ऑफ इन्व्हेस्टमेंट. आम्ही बाकी ठिकाणी सुद्धा जिथे जिथे केलेलं आहे, लोकांना जरा हँड होल्डिंग करून योग्य दिशेने दाखवलं. अँड डोंट टेक ऑल द रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी ऑन यू, मेक देम टू वर्क अँड दे टेक द प्राईड इन डुईंग इट. मी एक वेळ असला तर 1-2 मिनिटमध्ये सांगतो. इन कर्नाटक वी वेंट टू अ रिमोट प्लेस. They were such a bad, in fact, there is a Christian missionary who were there to help them to transfer to Christianity. They had land like in UP and all, they had water. What we did was to introduce some vermicomposting and maize cultivation. मी एक 10 वर्षानंतर तिथले आमचे प्रोजेक्ट संपल्यानंतर गेला. They were so happy, they remembered. They said, sir, पाऊस आला होता 1 दिवस अगोदर. सर, आमच्याकडे पाऊस असल्यामुळे मक्याचे सगळे कणस थांबलेलं आहे. आता मी 100 किलोमीटर वरून ते हार्वेस्टर आणतोय, थ्रेशर आणतोय. विदिन 2-3 डेज सगळ्या साल्वेज होऊन जाईल. मी विचारलं, तुझं हे शेतीच्या किती इन्कम? सर, कमीत कमी 2-3 लाख रुपयाचं तर आज होणार आहे माझं, म्हणलं 2-3 एकरेमध्ये. म्हणजे आय वॉज एस्टॉनिश्ड अँड सो हॅपी that people who were not able to earn 10,000-15,000, they are able to talk about lakhs of rupees because there's a power of technology. त्यामुळे what is important is there are a lot of good government schemes. If you can link with them and tell the right kind of thing. Only thing my submission is tell something which is workable. If you really talk some hypothetical thing, neither the farmer will be benefited nor the government will listen to you. That's my experience. And वाडीमध्ये म्हणलं तर सुद्धा तुम्हाला आश्चर्य वाटेल, मणिबाई was the first person to take crossbreeding technology to the field. On one hand, the cows were not giving milk, they were hardly giving 100 liters. He used that as a seedbed and produced crossbed. आज 3 crossbed शेतकरी ठेवलं तर he will earn 60,000-70,000 rupees income with 3 cows. And the crossbed is worth 40,000-50,000. If you look to the farmer's assets, there is no asset worth 40,000 in his house excepting the house itself. त्यामुळे similarly वाडीमध्ये it has created such a revolution, and the prosperity is so much, you can see in all terms, and never before it was realized. So if you do some good things, there are also many other NGOs who have done very good things and the government is adopting. It takes time. Only thing is reach the government with polite. आपण आरडाओरडा बोलू नाही, व्यवस्थित बोलला तर मग government also listens to us, because many times we become very arrogant, start dominating the government and they don't like it. So it's important. Even in our Wadi program, government spent 144 crores. Then suddenly they became very egoistic. They thought that we are getting popularity. So we had to manage humbly, not giving money, but humbly, to sort out. So त्यामुळे very important, government is a double-edged sword. We must work with them with a lot of delicacy. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Good, you could hear. हे काय एवढं डल सब्जेक्ट त्याच्याऐवजी
नाही आम्हाला नाही, मला एक वेगळी मैफिल ऐकायला मिळाली.
सो नाईस. थँक्यू.
नेरकर साहेब, तुम्हाला काय
बोलू शकतो का मी?
हो, बोला.
हेगडे साहेब,
हो,
extraordinary synthesis.
Thank you.
And I really congratulate you for a Sundar, starting from the sustainable development goals of the UNESCO down to the smallest villages in India.
And individual, every one of us, how we can contribute. Last
आणि सगळ्यात महत्त्वाचं म्हणजे you have brought back the Gandhian philosophy as the real answer to all the questions.
Absolutely.
एकच फक्त गोष्ट, मी 12 वर्ष खेड्यात राहून परत आलो पुण्यात आता माझ्या जन्मगावी. आता एकच गोष्ट केली पाहिजे, हे सगळं माहिती आहे सगळ्या लोकांना. तिथे फक्त आता राजकीय पक्ष ह्याला बंदी केली पाहिजे. ग्राम स्वराज्य आणण्याकरता हीच महत्वाची एक हर्डल आहे. हे प्रत्येक महिन्यामध्ये कमीत कमी एक इलेक्शन असतं. पार्टी स्पिरिट इतकं तिथे ब्रीडिंग केलेलं आहे खेड्यामध्ये. व्यसनाधीनता इतकी आणली आमच्या राजकीय पुढाऱ्यांनी तर खेड्यांचा पूर्ण विध्वंस केलेला आहे. तर माझं म्हणणं आहे की हे पार्टी स्पिरिट बंद करून खेड्याला पूर्ण स्वराज्य मिळालं पाहिजे आणि त्यांचं ग्राम स्वराज्य आणून ग्रामराज्य आणलं पाहिजे. पण हे विरुद्ध दिशेने सगळं राजकारण चाललंय.
बरोबर. Very important. I think, as an NGO, we should be able to work with all the parties. Don't bring the politics. People are also very smart. If there is something profitable, they also know how to deal with it. So we should, but this is very important what you said. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
आणि पंडित सरांना पण श्रद्धांजली मी देतो, कारण माझा थोडासा संपर्क आला होता आणि माझ्या जवळचे संबंध फार शेवटी आले.
येस, नमस्कार.
आपण काय थांबूयात उपाध्ये मॅडम?
येस, पंडित कुटुंबियांच्या तर्फे परत एकदा सगळ्यांचे खूप खूप आभार. सरांनी खूप छान रीतीने विषय मांडला की जो माझ्या वडिलांच्या दादांच्या खूप खूप जवळचा होता. परत एकदा त्यांच्या स्मृतीला अभिवादन सगळ्या पंडित परिवारातर्फे आणि मी अनुराधा आणि माझा भाऊ अनिरुद्ध यांच्यातर्फे विशेष अभिवादन. धन्यवाद, खूप खूप धन्यवाद.
आज आमचे दादा जिथं असतील तिथं त्यांना हे लेक्चर नक्की आवडलं असेल.
दादाला पुष्कळ वेळ भेटलाय ना. He has been so modest and nice.
Thank you.